On October 19th, 2022, I picked up a new hobby, but there's more to that story. For my 16th birthday, I asked for my first camera, a Lumix FZ300, a zoom camera with a fixed lens and no manual focus. My understanding of cinematography was minute, and as I say that, it probably still is. I went from shooting my little YouTube sketches on my iPhone 4S to my new camera, and I even shot what I called my first short film on this camera. But I soon realized that having a zoom lens wasn't the same thing as having a 50mm, 35mm, and an 85mm all in one, although I could have never articulated that. I wanted to have things be out of focus in the foreground or background, but the camera wasn't designed to do that, so I manually put things out of focus frame by frame in After Effects. I wanted to do a lot of things with the camera. When I went to college, I majored in film production. Suddenly, I went from only having the option of a zoom lens to having kits with 3 or more prime lenses where I could control the aperture and manually change the focus. And that camera, my first camera, kind of just sat in a filing cabinet for 5 years. Why would I use that when I can use a Panasonic S5 or Sony a7S Mark III? Why do I need a camera? Well, on October 19th, 2022, I picked up a new hobby. 52 days earlier, my father passed away. In truth, what guided me to any camera to begin with was my dad. Growing up, he traveled a lot. I could see the world he saw through the lens of his photography. Later in years, he wasn't able to see the world like he used to. So the best way to bring the world to him was through video and photography. Whether that was through photos, my YouTube sketches, or through the short films I made in college, the goal was to show him through fact or fiction, the world. Shortly after college, he passed away. I work in post-production, and I don't always get the chance to capture the world like I did before. And this camera, sitting in my filing cabinet, is just catching dust. Yet, I still want to show my dad the world. Let's go back to May 31st, 2016, a few months before I got that first camera. I was in my home city of Venice, Italy, and I took some pictures on my iPhone 4S. I sent them to my dad, and this was his answer. I figured I should take my dad's advice. On October 19th, 2022, I sold my first camera and bought a new one, an older digital camera, and I got a cheap lens that could separate the foreground from the background with nice swirling bokeh. My new hobby is photography, like his old hobby, and what always was a good way to show him the world. I started posting these montages of photos, which I call photo albums, highlighting my shots from the photo shoots I went on. I wonder sometimes what I really do it for. Most of my favorite pictures that I love are buried amongst the pictures I just like. I don't think so many people see my pictures, and I don't sell them anywhere. I'm not a unique photographer. I don't think I ever will be. I mean, can I even be called a photographer if this is just a hobby? I'd been wanting to get into photography for a while, and by selling my old camera, I finally had the means to get myself a new one. For days, I researched cameras and lenses tirelessly, as if it was the only way to breathe. I found a cheap, used Olympus Pen EP2 sold by the same people I was selling my camera to, but the next day, I looked on the website, and that camera was sold. My whole plan came apart, and I could no longer show my dad the world. I'm not sure anyone ever wants to admit it out loud, and I never wanted to admit it even to myself. Sometimes I notice, kind of all of a sudden, that I'm in grief. And this camera is part of that. I was lucky enough to find a very similar camera on the same website, the Olympus Pen EPL3, a later generation but with very comparable specs. I wasted no time and traded in the Lumix, spending a whopping $57 for the new camera and lens. The moment I started taking photos, I came to realize it's not really about the specs, the quality, the price, the age of the camera, or even if I can or can't be called a photographer. The photos I take are an artistic expression. And what is my artistic expression, if not for me? So when I wonder what I really do it for, as I fear that what I consider my favorite pictures that I love are going forgotten in a montage of pictures I just like, I'm doing it for me, so that I can show my dad the world.